a video podcast that we have been doing. We put out 4 episodes so far, and basically, if you want to be featured on podcasts, we're always looking for guests and stuff. Basically, people who are doing something interesting with their music, like they have an interesting technique, they have interesting pieces of hardware and stuff. The last episode we interviewed McKay, and McKay is doing something with Ableton and something called a drum cap. It is a MIDI interface that you can hit with drumsticks. I guess it has like a dozen pads on it and stuff, all velocity sensitive. Pretty awesome. So we thought we'd show you a little bit of the clip about what he's doing. And you can watch the entire episode, like all 36 minutes of it, online. So he did a music video too, so that's amazing.
So we're back, and you have some more demos or songs to play? Or?
Sure. This is part of a song called "Return" on the Doppio record. I'm using got some pads assigned to chords. I'm able to use my right foot for pitch bend, left foot for sustain. So it's short notes. As long as I hold my foot down, I get sustain. These guys are stepping through. If you look at the screen here, I've got these grids set up so that every time I hit the pad, it's playing in predefined notes, so I can play these different combinations of melodies. I can use the pitch bend. The chorus of "Return" goes something like this. I use these little pods to trigger different drum and bass patterns. So the beginning of the song is something like right foot triggering a low E. And then I've got a chord over here.
It's so freaking sick what you can do, right?
Build that whole thing there?
The little drum pods are built. There's at the beginning of the video it talks about how they're PVC pipe covers from Home Depot, and they have piezo triggers in them, and they're all set up to into the drum cap that has trigger inputs. So they send out a MIDI note. And I just wanted really small ones, so instead of, I use a lot of big pads and a real drum kit and all that stuff. But the prefab kits have these big pads this big, and when I need to trigger a lot of things, just turn them on and off. I don't need 100 pads this big. So those are useful for turning things on and off. I have a bigger kit, but this was.
Do you want to see another very quick demo song?
Please. Sure. Yeah. That's fucking awesome.
This live. We extend the song a little bit, and we do some improv. Each one of these pads I have set to individual notes, so I'm playing the bass line on that tune for most of the tune, actually all the tune. Some glitchy R2-D2 crashed into a neighborhood, sounds over there. I can actually create bass lines and pieces using these two guys here. Left foot on sustain, right foot on pitch bend.
Okay, well, I guess we'll get into the main portion of our meeting, which is sharing stuff that you've all brought. So I've got a stereo cable here, and whoever wants to go first, we try it.
Took all those pieces that I had, like these fragments of, and brought them all to 100 beats a minute, because I saw this guy at 4 in the morning in the basement with a bunch of people actually dancing at 100 beats a minute, and I thought, sure, why not. Also at the Decibel Festival, I got to play Roger Lane's drum machine, which was cool. His actual drum machine. He invented the drum machine, and I played it. And
The first one?
no, he's hawking
the new one.
He's hawking the Tempest right now, but it was still kind of cool to be like, you know, like out of the way, Roger. I got this thing. You know why.
backlit LEDs. It's sort of like just a keyboard, basically. So there's two components to making it work. The first thing is a serial interface. So that basically, is the driver for this thing. So the first thing you do is you send it a address pattern prefix, so it's set to MLR, which would basically activate it. And then once the serial connection is made, then you can either connect it to Ableton Live or a custom piece of software. So I'm using the Max MSP runtime, and actually the guy who created this, Brian Crabtree, he also shipped it with a free Max MSP patch, which is like a really simple. It's just a simple step sequencer. So you get what you get is 4 channels that you can activate, and you get seven banks where you could put audio files. So the first thing you do is close that, and I just have like a bunch of samples here that I've been working on different songs. So maybe we would take all these guys, and you drop them into. Minimize this too. You drop them in here, load them up, and then this one you set the tempo to like, I don't know, 111 or something, and then you have. So maybe we'll pick like a breakbeat loop that I have here. So the simple one, and then I have a bass line, and then I've got this vocalist who did like a little soulful vocal that I pitched up to something really almost like an instrument. Like a Rhodes key.
So what is this software right here that you're using?
So it's actually a programming environment, and then it's called Maximus P, and then you can build like a custom GUI out of it. So the author actually it's right there, 10 is his name, Brian Crabtree. He's the creator of the Mono. He also shipped the patch for this, so you can use it right out of the box without having to buy Ableton. So then you would turn on the main volume, and then now we've activated the sound. So let me make sure that this is back. So they're arranged into 4 groups. So you're kind of limited with the software in that you can only play 4 things at once. So you have to decide out of the 7 files that you have in here which ones you want to play. So maybe we'll have the breakbeats on the first track. We'll have the bass guitar on the second one, and then we'll have the Rhodes key, the Rhodes keys on and the vocal on 2 separate ones. And then if we have the speed, this is going to probably sound weird initially, but so there's the basic drum beat, and you can see here it's looping, and you can control the volume of the different pieces here. Right, so that's the loop. You can kind of chop it up in all sorts of different ways by just kind of picking which part of the loop you want to start with. And so then we want to add the bass. So it's sped way up. So we'll drop it down. Two loops out of time with one another, they'll actually just loop at their own speeds. And then you can also kind of set loop points where you just get stuck in a loop. You can reverse the pieces as well. So you can kind of... And then you can even just kind of tweak the sounds to a point where they're almost like really just sort of crazy glitchy stuff. And then another cool feature of this thing is that you have these two buffers where you can set a buffer point. It'll record for like 16 measures, or 16 bars, and then you can have that kind of playing in the background. So instead of just running linearly, you can create a performance essentially that plays along with you. So let's say I start with a drum beat, and then I set this. Then I can set another one. patch is really just seven 8-way step sequencers. It's actually, it could be 8, 16. You can also make it 2. I mean, you can control in this UI right here. You can control how many steps it makes. So 8 is just kind of a natural place to step it, but you could also extend it to 16, for example. Or you can also control the pitch. So if it's at if you have an 8-bar loop and you're putting it into a 16-way step sequencer, then you have to do it half time or double time so that for it to fit. So you can adjust, how fast or slow it's going. And then you have 4 tracks that could be played simultaneously. So track 1, track 2, track 3, and each of those has their own volume control. So I had the drums, but I have 2 tracks of drums in the first group. So I have group 1 there. So I can actually, only one plays at once. Right? And then if you put it onto a second group or third or fourth, then it'll play those pieces all simultaneously. Okay. But it's nice because it limits you in a way to 4 major pieces of your song, and gives you tons of flexibility for controlling and manipulating the sounds of it. But it's nice from a performance perspective because on a big sound system, having too many things all playing at once just kind of gets muddy and doesn't sound good. So having, being confined to those 4 tracks really gets you to think creatively about how you want those 4 pieces to sound.
It's pretty hard in most territories, but like a quick word about like how it sounds. Like the design is like the way the design is like there's no bass to it. Like I don't think you can play below like it's almost like middle A. It's really high, and all it is like 3 square waves, and that's all you get. So you can play 3 notes at a time, and after that you're gotta figure something out. So on Friday when I got back from work, I wrote this song. Yeah. He's like, it's pure white noise. Yeah, it is. It's a converter called like it's to BGM. Yeah, you have to use a few words to make it. Turn it up. It's there.
Sounds like the dad band playing keyboard and stick bend?
No, it's all typed in. Yeah.
It's very expressive.
Yeah, oh, thanks. Yeah, it's all steps. So I drew this like after I got here, I realized I needed something to kind of like show visually what the hell I'm doing. So I've been working on this filter design. And it's not quite my design, but I've kind of tweaked it. So there's a, in the classic Moog keyboard, there's a kind of filter, and what it is basically you guys do like a 1-pole filter, a 6 dB per octave. Doesn't have resonance. It's like very dull. So you chain 4 of those in a row, and then you get resonance by feeding it back, right? So you feed it back, and that creates that reinforces this frequency and creates that nice wow kind of sound. I mean, without that, it's kind of like putting the treble down on, you know, your stereo.
That's all the Moog filter is?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man, I'm writing one tonight.
Well, so in digital it gets really complicated because there's a one sample delay that you don't have an analog. Analog is pretty much instant when you feed it back. And digital, you can't feed it back instantly, so it creates all these tuning problems. The resonance terms just like explode. And so what I did a couple of things to fix that, and you know, there's a real mathy way to fix it, and I suck at math, so I didn't do that. So one thing I did was I put a low pass filter in the middle of the feedback, and that just like stays at like a really low range. It cuts out a lot of the highs. And supposedly it's supposed to help with some of the other feedback issues too, but I don't quite see why. And then it also clips it out. So when it's overloading, it's actually using that to distort the feedback and kind of splattering it, you know, to make it kind of harsher and dirtier sounding. So I kind of looked up the synthesizer, and this is kind of how it sounds. Hopefully this is the right one. So this is just like one saw. So if I move my pointer right, you get more resonance. It's also oscillate too.
Are you outputting the waveform right in the terminal there?
Yeah.
Twitter feed.
It does that. It says terminal there.
So
I think that's our default when you run a program on Mac.
If it doesn't have its own menu bars.
How are you doing that?
if you might have something like detuning in here, so you can actually do some okay patches. It only does an envelope down because I just didn't have time. I was taking on this thing a few months ago, and I missed to show it off. And like all this stuff happened, and I missed like 2 months of it.
It doesn't.
Wait, so that's the same feedback, just an octave lower?
It's the oscillators on the octave lower.
Oh, okay.
So the filter goes over the oscillator.
It's okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, great stuff.
Sounds really good.
So that's kind of my very simple analog synth.
Sounds great.
Very cool.
But yeah, I took a long, I've been trying to figure out this filter forever, and I just started playing with it one day, just kind of shooting in the dark, and it started sounding really good. I was kind of shocked because it's.
What are you doing for your oscillators in the first place?
So that's a cable-driven oscillator,
Yeah.
and it's got like I made like a fast out oscillator. So I think what it is, I can't remember if the harmonics fall off faster or slower than usual. I kind of tuned it by ear, so it would be a little bit thicker sounding than. Okay, like digital oscillators are cool, but they tend to be kind of, I don't know, like, there's a certain thinness that they usually have, I'm not totally sure why. But I figured if I made the harmonics fall off at a different rate, it could probably sound more analog.